Have you ever felt your dreams a hand away, but couldn't reach them? By November last year, I was starting to get my musical career under control. I started getting more consistent lessons, got my 3 to 5 hours of practice every day. I even got a nicer piano. But the world isn't a wish-granting factory. My practice sessions were being disturbed by an uninvited guest. Pain. My arms started to hurt as I play, out of nowhere. So I tried to do the most responsible thing. I ignored it. I kept ignoring it, and it kept getting worse. And I kept ignoring it a little more, and it kept getting worse. But my plan to over-practice and ignore my body's threats didn't quite work. It started growing more serious. I couldn't play as smoothly. It was bordering on excruciating pain when I tried to play fast passages. So I finally gave in after months of hoping it would go away on its own. The doctors weren't of much use. I went to 5 different doctors. None of them gave me an exact diagnosis as to what's wrong. All I wanted was a magical pill, so I can get better and go back to playing. But that didn't happen. For months, I was crushed. There was a lingering possibility that I could never play professionally or even at all. I had a concert approaching. I had 4 very hard, technically difficult pieces planned for that concert, and all of that went out the window. I was accused of being dramatic, of overreacting, over losing a hobby. For weeks, I kept going to my usual piano classes. Every week I went. And every week, instead of a piano class, I got the same lecture about how I should rest and not play and take it easy. And there I was, standing and sitting in a practice room, watching my teacher give lessons to other students. Those were the worst 3 months of my life. It felt like nothing was going right, every door closing in my face. So I had to force them open. Although none of the doctors agreed exactly what was wrong with me, they all agreed on one fact, that I needed physiotherapy and exercise for my extra weak muscles. And although the fact that having to work in order to get better instead of just taking meds wasn't appealing, desperate times call for desperate measures. I had to do it. I had to go through the loop of hurting in order to escape pain. It was very hard. It was very dark. I was very irritable, kept snapping at my parents. Sorry, mama. But I did it, and I hated every minute of it, but it had to be done. And eventually, things got better. Slowly, like how the intensity of a toothache will pass. I made it to that concert. I didn't play 4 difficult pieces, though. I played just 1. It wasn't the hardest or the most technically difficult, but it was the best I've ever played in my life. And I didn't even realize it. Mid-piece, I was in excruciating pain. I just wanted to get off mid-performance. But as soon as I finished playing and I heard the applaud, that was the moment when I realized that who I am, who I'm willing to fight to be, is a classical musician. Here's the thing though, I'm not a prodigy. I didn't start playing at 4. I only started my proper classical training at 14, which is pretty late. So why would I persist so much at something that I'm already late at? Why would I grind so much and try so hard at something that most people would consider a hobby? Even I was confused. I never considered myself a hard worker. I never counted how many hours I practiced, how many pages I studied. I was confused. Why was I doing it? It's because of this. Classical music is the only reason that makes me believe that I have something to say, that I belong somewhere. And that's why when I felt that it was being taken away from me, I couldn't let go. The funny thing is, throughout this whole experience, I listened to the same music It always made sense. I went to the same music through all my contradicting emotions. It always made sense. It always was a safe haven. And I want to share that experience with you through an experiment that I know will change your perception about performed classical music. I'm going to play one line by Chopin, from a very popular piece by Chopin. I'm going to play that line 3 times, each time for every phase I went through that experience. First phase, denial. I was hurting. Something was wrong, but I chose to ignore it. So my music, or the soundtrack that would have been through that phase, didn't make much sense, and so did the music. So this is phase 1. The second phase is anger, fear, possibilities of never being able to play again. Everything that I had held in just came out, very heavy and angry and loud, and so was the music. In the third phase, acceptance, gradual progress. It's still sad, but with the tiniest glimpse of hope. This is my favorite. Thank you. Thank you. If you heard a difference, if you felt different things from just one line, then you can understand and interpret and love classical music. This is why classical music will never die. This is why classical music will always be a safe place to everyone not knowing what to feel. You can listen to the same piece played by different people, it would never sound the same. You can listen to the same piece played by the same person but at different times, it still wouldn't sound the same. It's not boring, it's not for old people, it's always exciting and new and different. If you go on Instagram and click the hashtag classical music, you'll be surprised by the amount of young people, I mean, I'm talking kids practicing every note, perfecting every passage so that every single note is played with the most amount of soul. I don't think anything can replace interpreted music that has no electricity involved. If that doesn't remove your cynicism about classical music, I don't know what will. Before I got sick, I was very pessimistic. I didn't appreciate what I could do because I thought no one was listening. Even the mere blessing of being able to sit down and play a simple scale, I took that for granted. The truth is, there's always someone listening. There's always someone listening. And if no one is loud enough to cheer you on, that doesn't matter. You can cheer yourself on. You're here. You're actually able to do something you love. That's enough. I'm going to play a bigger excerpt of the piece with another experiment. I want everyone here to think about one thing that you should be more grateful for, something that maybe you're taking for granted. Maybe it's a demanding job. Maybe the fact that you're studying something you love. Anything that you should appreciate more. Think about all the other alternatives. Think about how your life would be without it. Imagine. Come back slowly to reality. Realize that you're actually here. You can do something about it. And do something about it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for listening, and I truly hope you got something out of this. Thank you so much.